All right, let's start with a thought experiment. Picture a place where, almost everyone is online.
We're talking like 99% of the population.
Exactly. And not just online, but incredibly tech savvy and with, well, some of the highest disposable income anywhere in the world.
Yeah, but then you take that same population and you put them under one of Europe's oldest and most restrictive gambling monopolies.
It's a stunning multi-million euro paradox, and it's what defines the entire iGaming landscape in Iceland.
It really does.
That contradiction is exactly what we're going to unpack today. For anyone new here, we're the Gambling Databases research team.
And our whole goal is to provide these clear, data-driven analyses of how the gambling industry functions market by market.
We look at everything: local regulations, tax, the player experience, what it's like for operators, really what makes each country unique.
And Iceland is, it's truly a study in regulatory friction. Our analysis estimates this tiny market.
And it is tiny, a population of what, about 370,000 people?
Just about, yeah. But that tiny market is worth approximately $150 million annually.
That's a small pond, but it holds some very, very valuable fish. We're projecting it'll grow by a 20% compound annual growth rate as CJR between 2023 and 2025.
And 20% is fast. That's a rapid expansion.
It is, but here's where it gets strange. The numbers just don't seem to line up.
No, they don't. This is the rub. Despite the high growth and, huge consumer demand, our internal ratings show a massive disconnect.
So how bad is it on the business side?
Our operator ease score for Iceland is,
Yeah.
It's a 2
A 2 out of 10.
to 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
Prohibitive. If you are a commercial operator, you simply cannot get licensed. It's a non-starter.
Yeah, for the person actually placing the bet, it's a completely different story. Our player access score is an 8.5 out of 10.
Exactly. Players have super easy legal access to all the international platforms they could want.
So you have this small but really high-value population, and their average revenue per user, the ARPU, is around €350 a year.
Which is a staggering amount of spending. And it's all happening in this gray environment. So the big question is, how does the government maintain a total domestic ban while players have total freedom online?
Okay, let's unpack that. Starting with the domestic situation, it's incredibly strict.
Oh, it's ironclad. Gambling is basically restricted to nonprofit operations.
Yeah.
State-sponsored lotteries that fund things like the University of Iceland.
Right. So if you wanted to open, say, a commercial casino in Reykjavik or an online one based in Iceland.
Forget it. It's prohibited under domestic law. Very clear-cut. Unlicensed commercial gambling is criminalized.
But that iron fist just seems to, well, it melts away the second you cross the digital border.
It does. And this is the key distinction everyone needs to understand.
Okay.
Online gambling is legal for the players.
So the operators in Malta or elsewhere can just accept Icelandic bettors with no issue, no blocking.
No technical blocking, no prosecution for serving the player. It's completely open.
But if the Icelandic government has such a strong monopoly to protect, why can't they just force the local ISPs to block the foreign websites? We see that happen in other markets.
Right, you'd think so. But that's where the European Economic Area membership comes in. The EEA is the absolute firewall here.
Ah, okay. So even though they're not in the EU.
Correct, not EU, but EEA. And that guarantees the free movement of services. It basically ties the government's hands. They can't put up protectionist walls or technical blocks against a platform that's operating legally in another EEA country.
So their attempt to protect their own monopoly has inadvertently created this perfectly secure, wide-open backdoor for every foreign operator in Europe.
It's the ultimate unintended consequence. It's precisely what allows the gray market to flourish because the government is legally restrained from stopping it.
Which brings us to the licensing reality. If you're a big international brand, there's no form to fill out, is there?
None.
Let me be crystal clear for anyone listening. Is there any legal path for a commercial company to apply for and get an online casino license in Iceland?
Absolutely not. The process is rated impossible. There are NO licenses available for commercial online casinos or sports betting. It is solely for charitable and nonprofit groups. The door is sealed shut.
Incredible. Closed at home, wide open from abroad. Okay, so if the environment is so hostile, we have to ask why any operator would bother. And that brings us to the Icelandic player.
The economic fundamentals are just stellar. This isn't just a rich country. It's a very stable, strong economy. We're looking at a high GDP per capita around 78,000 US dollars.
Wow. And unemployment?
Super low, sitting at about 3.35%. This all translates directly into more disposable income and, higher player spend.
And their digital readiness is what makes the market so So frictionless. Let's talk numbers again because they're just staggering.
It's not just literacy, it's total immersion.
Right, 99% internet penetration, mobile connectivity is almost 150%, and the broadband speeds are wild, over 240 millispeeds.
And that speed, that 241.45 millipes, that really matters for our industry. It means latency is not an issue.
You're thinking of things like live dealer games.
Exactly. Live dealer casinos, which need a ton of bandwidth for flawless streaming, they work perfectly. If your internet can handle high-def video, it can handle any iGaming product out there.
Plus, we noted that Iceland is pretty much a cash-free society. How does that help foreign operators?
It hugely reduces payment friction. Transactions are almost all digital. Credit cards, debit cards, Apple Pay, Google Pay. In a lot of gray markets, payments are the weak link that gets blocked.
But not here.
Not here. Since players are already used to seamless digital banking, they use international card processing without a second thought.
So we have a wealthy, digitally native, financially accessible player base. What are their habits like?
Participation is genuinely high, among the highest in Europe. And that average annual spend we mentioned, 525 per capita, is significant.
And they're not spending that on the local lottery, are they?
No, they show a massive preference for international sites. Over 90% of the online market goes to them. And the reason is simple. More games, better odds, and crucially, way better bonuses than the domestic nonprofits can offer.
What about the language barrier? That's often a hurdle.
It's virtually non-existent. English proficiency is so high that international operators don't need to invest in costly localization or dedicated Icelandic customer service. They're basically speaking to a global consumer.
So you've painted a picture of the absolute dream customer. But our operator E-score is a 2.0.
Right.
We've got the dream customer, but there has to be a severe catch for the operator. Let's get into that harsh reality check.
There's a massive catch. And it's built right into the tax code. We call it the churn killer.
Player taxation.
Exactly. The government can't stop you from betting offshore, but they can absolutely tax your winnings when you bring them home.
And these tax rates they're brutal.
They are. Gambling winnings are treated as personal income. So they're subject to progressive rates that go from 17% up to a staggering 46%.
46%. So imagine you're a VIP player, you hit a big jackpot on a foreign site.
You're legally required to declare that offshore win to the Icelandic tax authority. If you win, say, €100,000, you could watch nearly half of it vanish to the government.
That has to just kill the incentive to play at high stakes.
It severely impacts player retention. Why would a VIP keep playing when their net winnings are constantly being eaten away by taxes that high? It discourages sustained high-volume action.
Okay, so keeping players is hard because of the tax. What about getting them in the first place? If you can't set up an office or run a TV ad, how do you even find this audience?
You're forced into what we call the advertising dead zone. There's a severe partial ban on mass media ads, especially on TV.
So a primetime ad during a big football match is totally out.
Completely out of the question. It's like trying to sell a luxury car using only the classifieds. Operators have to rely on riskier methods. Really sophisticated SEO, affiliate marketing, that operates in a legally gray area.
Which has to drive up costs.
Dramatically. The population is tiny, remember, just 370,000 adults. And the competition for those few marketing channels is fierce. So your customer acquisition cost, your CAC, is exceptionally high.
How high are we talking?
We estimate it starts at €300 per customer and often goes much higher. You are paying a huge premium to get in front of this very small, very wealthy audience.
And operationally, they have to be entirely offshore.
Choice. Opening a local office, hiring local staff, even hosting a server. All of that would trigger immediate criminal prosecution. Everything, all banking, all processing, has to be cross-border.
Okay, let's try to synthesize this because the financials are confusing. On one hand, high ARPU, zero infrastructure costs, and no GGR tax on the operator.
Right, the government can't tax the offshore company's revenue.
But on the other hand, you have an insane check of 300 plus and a player tax that just kills retention. Is this actually profitable?
That's the critical question.
Yeah.
And the answer is, it depends on who you are. If you're a startup trying to scale, no. This market makes zero sense. The high costs and the small population ceiling just aren't worth it.
But what if I'm an established operator, already licensed in Malta or somewhere, with a global footprint?
Then the math changes completely. For an established, agile operator, Iceland is a highly profitable side market. We classify it as a bonus geo.
A bonus geo, I like that.
Yeah, the initial investment is just marketing spend. You avoid all license fees, all local costs. The high ARPU combined with the zero tax on your end means the margins are really strong.
So the risk from the ad blackout and the tax turn is acceptable because the margins on the players you do manage to keep are so high.
That's precisely the verdict. It's a low-cost, high-margin revenue stream, but it's not a central part of anyone's business strategy. It's excellent supplemental income.
So, to summarize our findings here, Iceland is the ultimate gray market paradox. You've got this incredible consumer demand and digital infrastructure colliding with an old school monopoly, which is ironically protected by the EEA, forcing all the real commercial activity offshore.
And this landscape might not be static. This is what we have to watch going forward. We know there have been legislative proposals recently.
Aimed at overhauling the whole system.
Exactly. To finally introduce commercial licensing. And crucially, these proposals include a pretty significant proposed 22% tax on GGR.
GGR, gross gaming revenue, that's the operator's revenue after paying out winnings. A 22% tax on the operator, on top of that, up to 46% tax on the player. That sounds like a nightmare for the current offshore companies.
It would be a total upheaval. If the government succeeds in regulating and taxing that 90% of the market, the entire dynamic shifts. It raises a huge question for every company in there now.
Which is, how quickly would you have to adapt or just pull out entirely if the government manages to layer a 22% GGR tax on top of the existing player tax?
That new environment would just compress those strong margins they're enjoying. It becomes a choice. Enter a newly regulated, heavily taxed small market, or retreat from a geo that's currently giving you risk-free, zero-tax revenue.
The first movers who could get those new licenses would win, but everyone else would see their profitability fall off a cliff overnight.
It is the single biggest legislative change that everyone operating in the Nordics should be watching.
An essential piece of intelligence. For the full text of this analysis and our other country reports, you can visit our website at gamblingdatabases.com.